Michael, do you miss Canadian summers now that you live in Texas?
This is Auto Collabs.
In summer.
So
Is that it sounds like it should be a love song.
No, that's
Canadian
no. That's
Real- it's a
the
real song?
snowman
I don't.
from Frozen. In summer.
Oh, I thought you said Canadian summer.
Oh,
tell me
yeah.
you have young children without telling me you.
That's exactly it.
young children.
Look, everything starts and ends with the Disney song in my world. It's just how the world works. It's just.
Do you
bad.
find
It's
that?
bad.
Do you and your wife just sing things to each other like just normal? Like, do you want Chick-fil-A or
Oh, it's so bad.
Chili's?
It's absolutely terrible. We do it all the time. Yes.
Yeah, I
It's
remember doing that.
our life in song by the Mountsier family.
Oh,
Right.
I mean, I would tune in for that.
Oh, that'd be a good YouTube channel. You know what I mean?
Kyle, you forgot.
Actually,
to
we've been thinking about
separate
this. You
the
guys let me
white
know, okay?
and
This has nothing to do with our podcast guest, but we've been thinking about this. You know, we were thinking about like we sip tea every single night after the kids go to bed.
Do
and the
you
thought
really?
was like, we should spill the tea on our day with these children. And that would be it would be a magical little Instagram,
That's
YouTube
pretty
channel.
good.
Yeah, it'd be messed up. It'd be wild, but it would be fun.
a real moment of empathy, I think, with all the other parents. You're like, oh, your kids are that terrible too.
Oh, ours too. Great. Got it.
Well, on that note, today's guest Shane Wilson with Connected Dealer Services has a pretty extensive background in tech and really leans in to the retention, the connected experience, and giving dealers, like, I can't remember what the number is, probably say it on the show, but it's like billions of data points. Like, there's a lot of data moving back and forth. So let's see how this conversation goes with Shane, and we're going to ask him about Canadian summers. You know, I started with that question because the little form that we fill out is like he stays in northern Michigan or something like that.
Yeah.
During the summertime, which is a thing people do because no one wants to stay there in the winter, I guess. Kind of
Yeah.
like Canada and Syracuse.
So should we bring them in?
I mean, I don't know. I'm having fun talking about this.
Enjoy this conversation, y'all, with Shane Wilson.
All right, today we're here with Shane. Shane, thank you so much for joining us on Auto Collabs. It's great to have a conversation for the first time, all of us together.
Yeah, I'm so excited, guys. Thanks for having me. This is gonna be great.
All right, so tell us, we were just talking about this slightly before we hit the record button, but you are one of the few people that has the really unique experience of enjoying summertime in northern Michigan.
Yes, that short-lived season we have. Yeah, it's actually amazing here. It's beautiful, and you got to take advantage of the few months that we have it here.
So, but you live in Michigan all year round?
Yeah. I'm about an hour north of Detroit, typically, and then occasionally come up here when I can.
Do you just hang out with the Northwood people then?
Yeah.
On the regular? Because
Yeah.
that's what I would do if I
That's
lived
exactly
an
what I
hour
do.
north
I'm
of
in the woods, on
yeah.
the water. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's amazing.
That
That's
really is
amazing.
But before you guys jumped on the call, he and I were talking about how he runs through the forest barefoot and hunts animals with
Okay.
his bare teeth.
Yeah.
On all
Shane,
fours?
this is going to turn into a different podcast.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
telling you right now.
I know.
Collabs.
Yeah, no. One of the things we usually like to talk about is, just get a little purview of how you found your way to the auto industry and especially how you got into the lane that you're in right now.
Yeah, it's been a really fun path of my career. So I started right out of college, just getting into the 12-volt automotive aftermarket whole world, starting from remote start, keyless entry. I'm going to age myself when you actually needed an aftermarket keyless entry system.
No, I think you still need those. It's not, I still see advertisements.
Yeah, right. So started there and then
And for all of you who don't live in a really cold climate, it's kind of a necessity.
well, remote start for sure.
Yes,
right. And that was
sure.
my world, was remote start, and making that, scalable and an actual consumer product. And that brought us into, the car dealer world and what products we could bring to the dealership. I did a lot of preload alarm systems back in the day. So just an analog alarm system, Southern California, big market, Texas, big market. But that was really my first intro into trying to figure out F&I type products for that world in the aftermarket space, and got really good at that. And then kind of morphed that into connected car, being able to remote start from your phone, GPS tracking, things like that. So that's been really my whole career path, is that I really don't know anything else, quite frankly. And so 2018, I was brought in here from Procon Analytics. Procon's the parent company of CDS, what I run today, and was really the product guy for them for all of their verticals. And then 2019, we spun out CDS, its own entity, and then I started running the group. So from 2019 on, I've been running CDS, and it's been really interesting. All the different headwinds you don't necessarily prepare for, right? There's no guide on.
That's
COVID.
a wild timeline to run a new thing. Like, kudos to anybody that like 2019 to early 2020 was like, I'm just going to start something new.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine.
Exactly. It was very interesting. So, learned immediately on how to navigate through that, through the car dealer space, and, all of the chip shortages and what we do here on our side with all the manufacturing. We have a widget, if you will, a device that goes into the car. And so we had to really be part of that as well, and making sure we didn't run out of inventory, making sure our warehouse was still scalable, all of that. So it was fun. I used to have hair. Yeah.
It's like it's a magical thing. So you keep saying CDS, it's Connected Dealer Services. Like, just give us a little bit of background, since like that's obviously so much of what you're thinking about doing on a day-to-day basis. Where did the advent of that come from? Like, what was the problem that you were looking to solve?
Originally we saw a problem on really just being able to protect, originally started with just being able to protect inventory at a dealership lot, how to manage their assets, if you will, that are on the lot, how to make them more efficient with sales, showing where the vehicles were. They were losing cars. Like, people are losing dealers were losing cars, they're losing keys, things like that. So we wanted to originally solve for that. And so we created a program that had a really, we call it preload. So a preload program, put a device on every single vehicle on the dealership lot. That's our model. And so you have our product loaded in, and we help them manage all of their inventory. They know where all the vehicles are, if they're off the lot, if they're on the lot, if they're in a satellite location. Obviously, we're protecting them, from stolen vehicle. We've all heard those 8 Hellcats stolen out of a rooftop somewhere. And so we started with that, but then we kept trying to solve additional problems. So, one, as an example, we're real leaning forward on data and data collection and what we can pull from the vehicle. One problem we wanted to solve was the traditional GPS product is just that. It's just location, just what you can do with location. There's a manual process for install. So now we created technology which ties into the vehicle's data bus. So we can pull the VIN number of the vehicle. With that, you can pull the real odometer. So think about getting the real odometer data, just that data point for all of our dealers, the vehicle health. And that's completely pivoted our company into more driven around service retention. How do we go?
That's it right there. That's right? The golden, like that right there. You and I, we're just going to talk for a minute. We'll just forget that Paul and Michael are here, because I am obsessed with changing who owns retention.
Yep.
And I think that we have believed for a long time that we own whether or not we're retaining a customer based on what we do. But really, the ownership of retention has been all on the customer's plate.
Right.
Their ability to respond, their ability to remember. I need to get my sprinklers turned on. And it is like, I can't do it.
What does that actually mean? I don't understand what that means.
I know, like sorry, this is not a car. I'm going to an aside. The sprinklers on my lawn.
I don't even understand what you mean by get them turned on.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to because in the winter you have to compressed air, push all the water out.
Oh, okay.
Turn off
the winterization. Okay.
There's winterization. But I can't even remember between 9 and 3 when that company has someone on to call them and do that, because that's outside of my realm of remembering to manage my retention with that company.
Right.
And in auto, I think it's the same exact way, where we've been conditioned to think that our mailers are good enough to manage our own retention, but it's been completely on the customer. And I think one of the big gaps, which it sounds like you're solving, is knowing the exact mileage and condition of that car so that we can manage 100% of the retention life cycle.
Yeah, very precise and accurate, right? I mean, we've all gotten that little postcard in the mail for, you know, your oil change or something, and it's like, you know, your 10,000 miles are up, but you have 100,000 miles.
Like, not even close.
Yeah,
right?
not even close.
Not even close.
Yeah, so we're trying to be another channel for that dealer to be able to connect to their consumers, right? So, you know, they sell our product in F&I, very profitable. They're making a lot of profit with our program. But then we become the loyalty program for that dealer too, right? And so then they have the mobile app, has customization for the dealer. There's their logo and such is there. But then they can campaign to them. All the data from the vehicle side of things is shared so that they can communicate back and forth. Consumer can book a service appointment. It's pretty exciting, and that's just been really resonating with our dealer base and our customers.
Something I think is interesting here that as I'm taking notes, this idea of retention, I love that narrative about how you're giving that control back to where it should sit all along. I think because often in our industry, so much of the onus is placed on, or emphasis is placed on the sales department to do everything. That's where we start. We talk, you know, it's I don't know, more fun to talk about selling the car, not so much about servicing the car. And so we get kind of this closeted, you know, discussion about the power that actually sits in the fixed operations of a dealership. I know obviously there's probably fixed ops professionals that are like, that's what you think, Cirillo, but we already know it. You know, there's that.
Absolutely.
But, you know, in speaking of retention, I think it's important to also pick up on what you're saying here, which is that so much of it always goes back to marketing. And what you're doing that I'm picking up on is, well, wait a minute, before we even get to the marketing conversation, there is a tactical output that my people can do by having accurate vehicle health information that of itself will bring people back to the business and bring dollars back to the business. Mm-hmm. I don't need to do the mailer yet. I don't need to do the ad campaign yet. I don't need to do any of these things. I need to pick up the phone.
Right. That's absolutely.
And now I have the information to do that. What's your stance on, and I don't know if we want to go here or not, but what's your stance on privacy? I mean, you're collecting a tremendous amount of data, movements, positions, locations, all those sorts of things. What are your thoughts on privacy? How do you make sure that things are safeguarded in a way, and that maybe the skeptic out there that's like, well, great, now Shane knows exactly the grocery store I buy my fish sticks at.
I'll say that. So first off,
it's been a long time since I've had a fish stick.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting one right there, right?
I try to go for the obscure guys.
Yeah.
I try.
We are a California-based company, and you always got to give credit to California, but they are very hard on privacy and what they do and what their requirements are. So, I mean, first off, we follow all the standard, the industry standard privacy policies. We have opt-out conditions, all of that. But the consumer is agreeing when they register, but we don't share any location data, right? So, like all location data is private. That is their customers' own data. We don't go there at all. It's really purely what the car is telling us from a health perspective and the odometer and all of that, right? So it's safe, it's really secure, and it's been working. It's a great program.
So cool.
Yeah.
Is Michael saying something? Hold on, Michael's saying something, but we're not hearing him.
Oh no, Michael!
Oh no!
Oh, there you are.
It's like the cane, in the old cartoons, the cane.
Oh yeah.
I saw him like looking very thoughtful,
and I didn't
he's saying
anything.
Something. That's weird.
Well, I'll ask the next best question. That one was used on deaf ears. I'm just kidding. So what is something that surprises your client partners when you're like, hey, did you notice that the vehicle health summary picked this up? Like, what's something that's obscure that maybe isn't even on our radar? I know we get a check engine light. I know but what are some other health monitoring issues?
The one that I thought was most interesting, and the kind of the light bulb went off on for a lot of people is we call them wearables, right? But it's not a data point we can collect, but we do based on odometer and mileage. We know tire wear. If our app, I was doing a demo for you right now, we actually have the old school Lincoln Penny where you can do the tread test on the app. But think about tires, and specifically I'm going to tires and that going there is dealers don't do a really good job there at all. So from a serviceability standpoint, some of the wearables, tires, the battery performance, there's, I think the percentage is high, like 30-40% of all service calls are related to your battery. It's pretty interesting. So, I can say for myself, I think you guys too probably, but if my battery goes bad, my first thought is AutoNation, AutoZone, wherever I'm going to go. I'm not calling my dealer for that. Right.
You're exactly
so
right.
We're trying to change that narrative too. And those were some of the points where it was just like, wow, those were big eye openers that we really did.
Well, but this is where battery, man, how cool would it be? Maybe, I don't know, maybe you're doing this. Maybe I'm already preaching to the choir, but it's like, oh, this is wrong. Hey, we can come to you this afternoon or tomorrow. You want us to fix it then, or do you want a rush appointment for right now? Add $20.
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
Like
exactly.
That's owning retention. It's like, oh, we knew about your car's health before you did. We're coming to you.
Yes.
And I think that's everything. That right there would make, if there's ever any talk about OEMs coming in and stealing business because of going to direct to consumer, that right there would tell customers would just punch out the no. My dealer takes care of me.
Yeah,
they know about problems before I know about them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
No doubt. That's a great point.
Yep.
That's a great point.
Yeah, so you talk about the profitability we do in F&I just from upselling and giving stolen vehicle recovery. A lot of our dealers reinsure our program with a theft benefit or limited warranty. And then you bring in the service aspect. It's just that, we kind of touch every point of the dealer. And so when I'm pitching or talking to my employees, we're no longer just a GPS program. We're more of an enterprise tool for the dealer. And we just bring so much more to the table. Right.
You're also, aside from, this F&I side of the business and these products and these retention, and you're also a pretty big student of leadership within the stores and in general. How do the two things marry together? Like, how do you infuse some of those beliefs through your products, through your servicing your clients?
It's, we built the company specifically for this market, so we've scaled the team. I would say that the support is critical, right? Their turnover at a dealer is very high. You're constantly losing stakeholders or employees. So
we're working on changing that, by the way.
What was that?
Right.
So we're working on changing that.
Yeah. Good. I will help you guys. So anything I can do to help. Right. So, but you have to have boots on the ground to be able to support that. Right. You have to be able to touch the dealer, continuing to train them, get them going, get them to understand it. Typically takes, 60 days, 90 days to get them full. I call it muscle memory of the program. But yeah, it's just that we're not just a set it and forget it type group. We're constantly there. We're constantly in the stores. Again, very leaning forward on data. So our team constantly is giving them reporting, all kinds of performance KPIs, etc. So it's a true partnership, ongoing. Right.
All right. Now you dropped a little Easter egg in a little form that we had you fill out about you making sure that cars don't hit cyclists that are self-driving.
Yes.
And it's a fun side. Tell us about
Kyle,
that.
We ask this question to every guest. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's probably, when you guys saw that, that's probably a strange one, right? So
you guys say that to everyone.
Well, I think Paul and Michael are super excited about this one because they're both cyclists. Well, maybe not bikes, but larger bikes.
Yeah, I still don't want to get run over by a vehicle, right? Yeah.
Nobody wants to get run over by a self-driving vehicle. Why did you get into that?
Man, it was fun. So, I spent 25 years with a consumer electronic company and, kind of hit the ceiling in my career there. Great company, great mentors, gave me everything I have today. Right. So very grateful. But at that point I was like, I need to go, somewhere else. And so I kind of thought in a way I was getting out of the industry, but it sucked me right back in. So, I was working with a company in Detroit, small little startup. And, we were more of an app development company. But our true goal, our passion project was exactly what you just said, Kyle. We know all of us were cyclists. I was a mountain biker over time. A lot of my buddies were all road guys. But we didn't want to have autonomous cars running over us in the street. Right.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And
that's
so
a great plan.
We had all these relationships with the OEMs, the big three, right? Ford, GM, Chrysler, all here in our backyard. Sure. And Stellantis, I should say. And so, we worked with them and we were prototyping all kinds of fun stuff, with Bluetooth. So using a Garmin, tracker to be able to ping the car and be able to create an alert and stuff. It was really, really fun. So I was doing that for about a year and a half before I got sucked back in from ProCon and started that, but it was really, really fun. Yep.
That's super fun. I mean, that's like really early, right? That was back when at NADA, everybody was saying that autonomous cars were going to take over the road.
Yeah, that's it was like, 2017, 2018.
Right. And we finally have that kind of coming as a reality, and the differences between like what Tesla's doing and what Waymo's doing.
But certainly not taking over the road.
No, definitely not.
That's what it was back then. It was
back then it was, we would already be doing it, right? Yeah, it's like that.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
Yeah, it was really fun.
That's so cool.
Yep.
So cool.
I'm intrigued by how slow and yet somehow how fast technology is moving. I was trying to find the way to phrase that, but you're like, I worked for a big consumer electronics company for 25 years. And I'm like, I used to work for way back in the day, I used to work for Best Buy, but at the time it was called Future Shop.
Oh yeah.
And I thought it was the end of the world when they finally got around to upgrading their point of sale system. Because they had been talking about it for what felt like 25 years. Yeah. And then they rolled it out and it was still a DOS prompt type system. And I'm like, this is the update.
Yeah, like, was it AS400 or something like that?
Yeah. And now all of a sudden, you're talking about, hey, just in a period of 5 years, we went from pontificating about autonomous to, now like I need to really develop a solution so that people don't die on the side of the road from autonomous. And it just, I don't know, it blows my mind. What is something that you're thinking about that in this concept of how fast things are evolving and how you have created a connected solution? What's the next 5 years look like in your mind? Like, is it even worthwhile looking down that far because we've got 100 years of innovation seemingly every 18 months? Or?
Yeah, right. Exactly. It is interesting. It's tough to think that far ahead, to your point, because it's changing. We constantly are looking, and it's a little cliche because everyone's talking about it, but it's the data, right? And what we can do with the data, and how do we look at that? With the AIs being, everybody's got AI now, right? And large language models and such. So, when I'm thinking about what do we do with what we collect, we're processing right now. It's just, it's awesome stat, but we're processing over 2 billion events a month in just collection of some of this health data and odometers and stuff. So it's like, how do we just continue to give that to the dealer to empower them? Right. And to get them to be able to own their customers, like we talked about earlier. How do we continue to make that better for them? That's what we're looking for. And then obviously, in parallel with that, we still need to think about, EV, what is EV really going to be? I don't think any of us know yet.
That's
right?
Total different.
Yeah. But so what does that do for us? How does that, what products can, how are cars going to be serviced then at that point? And how do we help dealers still be able to draw that in? So that's obviously.
Well, if you did tires, you got half of that solved already,
exactly,
right?
Exactly right. Yeah. And it's just a big battery, so we got that too.
Yeah,
so
that's all it is.
Man, this is super cool stuff. Thank you for helping us facilitating our dive down the rabbit hole. We like when that happens. Shane Wilson, thanks so much for joining us on Auto Collabs.
Yeah, thanks guys. This was great.
Well, so to answer your question, Paul, I don't miss Canadian summers.
That's full facts. That's full facts. He's like, Texas is warm enough.
I love it. In fact, when I moved to Texas, people are like, you're going to pray for snow. And I'm like, no,
Never.
I'm not.
Doubt it.
And I haven't. So
there you go.
Hey, say?
I'm sorry I went off on a tangent and got so excited. I just get so thrilled with the fact that people can potentially actually care for their customers before their customers have to feel like they're obligated to reach out to them.
Raise. Yeah.
And
I don't know about Paul, but I love when that happens because I can sit back, take notes, and I feel like it's as close as we will get to the passion level of like a Diners, Drive-In, and Dives episode,
There will be a time where someone calls me, I hope, and goes, Kyle, I'm paying for your flight out to the dealership. I want to show you how we manage all of the retention. And I bet their service profitability will be higher than anybody's. Their technician satisfaction, their customer satisfaction, and their retention percentages in their DMA will outpace everybody, because it's like, if there's one of me, there's 100 of me in this neighborhood just waiting for someone to tell me they're coming to come take care of my oil change or change my tires out or whatever it is. And I'll happily walk my credit card right down to them when they're done.
What I love is
I would
like,
too.
They're probably around the same time that everyone was pontificating about autonomous vehicles and resurfacing photos from the 50s of like people sitting in the back of their self-driving car and whatever. Around that same time in 2017, 2018, there was also this idea that the dealership showroom would get smaller and the service department would get bigger.
That's
and
right. I forgot about that.
That is something I was thinking about as Shane was talking. And as you brought up these points, I'm like, I think we might be fast approaching an era where, to your point, like service becomes the actual center of not just the way we want to perceive it from a fixed perspective, but like actually the center of the
because if
dealership.
retention is right, then you don't need a big old sales showroom.
That's
because
right.
those people are going to come in knowing what they want. They're going to do business with it. It's going to be easy, fast, and it's going to be simple. Yep.
I think our work here is done today. On behalf of Kyle Mountsier, Michael Cirillo, and myself, thank you for joining us today on Auto Collabs.
Welcome to Auto Collabs. Why are we recording?
Are we rolling yet?